Okay. So, going through that solid wall I just went through has nothing to do with getting to Ganon's castle. The only reason why I do it is so I can get rid of the wall when I re-enter the room. I can also get rid of the wall by save and quit, or I could also just, I could die to Goma as I kill Goma. Basically, that wall needs to not be there, simply because I need a path to get from the blue light into the door over here. So if it's blocked by the wall, then I can't do that. And the only way to get through the wall, like the way that getting through the wall works, is that when Goma attacks me and I have ISG on, if Goma's in just the right position and I backflip on exactly the right frame with ISG, the ISG keeps me in the air long enough, a little bit, so when it puts me down on the ground, Link and Goma are both like occupying the same space. So when two actors occupy the same space, it uses, it tries to like, basically Goma pushes Link a distance away because they shouldn't be occupying the same space, and it just so happens that if I do it just right, it just barely pushes me hard enough that the collision detection of the wall fails, so I can actually get through. So that's how that works. But yeah, without Goma here, I can't get through the wall anymore. So I need the wall gone when I come back in the room to do the wrong warp. So to do the wrong warp, I need a bottle with either bugs or a fairy or fish in Link's hand. You see how the bottle's blue in his hand? I need that, because that allows me to do a glitch where I backflip and press the button for the bottle. So normally if I backflip and press it like this, I pressed it in midair and it buffers the action until Link hits the ground. So he goes through the air, and when he touches the ground, then it decides to drop the bugs out of the bottle, right? So basically it's delayed because I'm airborne. But what I can do is, instead of just pressing the button for the bugs, I can get, okay, basically right now the object in Link's hand, 29, that's bugs, I can replace it with another object, such as Kokiri Sword, which is item 59. So if I go like this, what just happened was it buffered play a cutscene with the item in Link's hand, as in drop the bugs out of Link's hand, but I replaced it with the sword before I touched the ground. And it still buffered an action, except it tries to... See, it doesn't have the bug cutscene anymore. Instead it has the sword. And the sword doesn't have a cutscene attached to it, so it just does the default cutscene, which is pulling out the ocarina. So I can play my sword as an ocarina like that. So the idea is, if I do that on the very edge of the blue warp, on the very edge, I just barely touch the edge of it, then I can activate ocarina items while the blue warp tries to take me away. And when I start, here, let me show you that. Hold on. So right now, I'm in the warp, but I have Ocarina items, so I can cancel it. Right? And I can move around even though the blue warp's supposed to take me up. And right now, the blue warp, after I canceled Ocarina, it started counting upwards. So it started counting upwards, and if I turn and look at the warp, it will continue counting upwards, but right now it's far enough off camera that it stops. So if I look at it like this, it takes me up and puts me in the cutscene for beating the dungeon, as it should. But if I open that door at exactly the right time, so it ticked up just the right amount, then what the game does is, like, what the game just did was send Link to Kokiri Forest and play cutscene 2. Okay? So that's basically what it did. And so to play cutscene 2, it has to get past the 4 scene setups, which are child day, child night, adult day, adult night. So it adds 4 by default, and that would get it to the first cutscene, and then it adds 1 more to get to the second cutscene. So to play cutscene 2, it adds 5 to this exit of Kokiri Forest. Now, what you actually end up getting the game to do is, when you step through that door at exactly the right time, it's still adding 5, but it's adding 5 to the wrong exit. It's adding it to the Deku Tree basement. And Deku Tree basement, internally in the game, it doesn't have any cutscenes afterward. It has this 4 regular scenes: child day, child night, adult day, adult night. But instead of there being cutscene 1, cutscene 2, cutscene 3 after that, instead it's Ganon's tower collapse interior, room whatever, child day, child night, etc. So it adds 5, and instead of taking me to the basement, it takes me to Ganon's tower, and that's how it works.